This video was announced about a month ago and there has been no one talking about it, which is really weird because it's actually a massive deal. In this video, I'm gonna break down exactly why custom code is going to change the game. So if you're not familiar with what this really means, it's basically a workflow action in the workflow builder. So if we go here, we just type in custom code, then we can choose this new workflow action. And what you do is when you click on this, you can send in whatever values you want from the preceding steps, or basically this whole menu here, right? You got contact, appointment, all these types of information. So you would just name whatever you want to put in with a key up here, and then you can bring in to whatever kind of code you actually want to run. And so they have some sample code when you create a code block. So it has like basically some sample numbers and then some sample code here, and you just have to have like a certain output, right? And what this means is you're no longer restricted to just what the workflow actions enable you to do, okay? So if we see this right here, this function, this is an API call, okay? And so what we're doing is basically the exact same thing that Zapier has been doing. So Zapier is ridiculously expensive. It's like $80 a month if you want to get a decent plan with some decent functions. And that only gets like that gets you a few thousand runs a month, but it's an absolute ripoff if you're not running a function every 5 minutes, all right? Which most people are not. You could probably do it by yourself. Zapier, all it's doing, if you're not aware, is bundling APIs for you, okay? It's literally just a aggregator and organizer of these APIs. So all these actions in here are things that you could find on Square's developer website, or Twilio, or Facebook, or Lead Connector, HighLevel's like website, okay? So this add update contact, I could literally find this right here if I just did like a search and I just did update contact. It'll show up. Oh, let's go. So update the contact. This is literally all you're doing. You're just like putting in the information, and Zapier's like, oh, I'll do that for you. I'll organize that for you, and I'll only charge you $9 billion a month, all right? So that's essentially what we're doing, and the only reason we couldn't do that in HighLevel is because we didn't have the code that was necessary until now. Basically, anytime you want to run an automation, you could literally do it straight from HighLevel. No need for that stupid Zapier. And the only problem really is that sometimes like API providers will change the API. So it's nice because Zapier takes care of that. So if a developer like changes, if HighLevel were to like change the position of two parameters, they go into the API, and then you didn't know, like your automation would be messing up. You might not know, and then you'd have to go in and fix it. Meanwhile, you're losing billions of dollars. But if you ignore that slight issue, which might be slight, might not be, depending on your use case, then you can actually like use this instead of Zapier. It's going to save you money, definitely. And also, I think annoyance, because with Zapier, dude, like format state to code, okay, utilities, this is a lookup table. This is like the easiest thing in the world to implement with code. You don't even need to be charged an action for this. This is literally like 6 lines of code, this right here. So they're charging like a full action for it. And then if you want to add like, let's say we want to do something in Lead Connector. Let's say we want to book an appointment, all right? So let's go action. Okay, what do we see here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, and a raw API request, which is in beta. Now, let's come over to the list of all the available API calls. Okay, wait, I'll make this fair. This is version 2. So this is slightly more updated than version 1. And let me just pull up version 1, because if you only have the 297 plan, you can only use these actions. Now, there are, I'm not going to count, there's probably 20 categories right here. Not even like in like a lone request, but 20 categories of requests that you can perform, and they're not even in like Zapier at all. So let's say if you wanted to like schedule an appointment, boom, you're shit out of luck unless you know how to like, unless you know that you can go do this, okay? So I was working on something cool here where when a phone call ends, we can basically take the contact, we can use the API to find what conversation, because that's a separate variable. And so then the conversation ID is separate from the contact ID, but we get the contact ID, obviously that's included in the workflow. And then we use the API through custom code to get the conversation ID. And then we pass the conversation ID into another API call where we're gonna get the last message. We're gonna ask for the last phone number or the last phone call. And then there's another API thing you can run to get the call recording. And then you can use OpenAI's API to actually bring that call recording and get it transcribed. And then you can generate a summary, add that to the contact notes, create a conversation history, including phone calls, whatever you want. This is absolutely game changing if you actually want to be like keeping track of what your clients are doing and like building out like chat bots and phone bots and all this type of stuff. So as we can see, I was working on building that. I have the $297 a month plan because I wasn't using anything from the $497 a month plan until I just realized that, I actually need the $497 plan to use this API, which is kind of a bummer, but it's all right. So I have clients that I'm going to be implementing this exact same thing for, but I just want to show you really quickly a few examples of how you can actually use this exact same function. Okay, so what we have here is something pretty sick. So this is a website I'm working on building. And if we just scroll down, we have a get a quote option. And this is really good because oftentimes people aren't gonna be like super clear on what the pricing is. And with like a high volume kind of local business and like low ticket, you wanna be able to give prices just so you can like get higher quality leads. So what we're doing here is we have a automatic quote calculator, but slightly due to limitation, but also because it's kind of a good idea, we're gonna have people actually put in all their information before they get their quote. So here's how it works. So basically, we're gonna select the type of vehicle, and this is used to determine the actual pricing tier that they're in for the service. And so that basically saves them having to figure it out. And so they put in their vehicle size, and then we ask about their paint condition. Okay, if their paint condition's good, then it's gonna change the pricing. Same thing with the package that they get. If they choose a gold ceramic, then we're gonna ask them about all the different upgrades they want. So they'll go, I wanna get this and this and this, and you can see all the pricing broken down there. And then if they wanna actually get this quote sent to them, all they have to do is put in some contact information and press submit. Now what that's gonna do is trigger this workflow, which is set to that survey, and then it's gonna actually use custom code to figure out the exact quote for them. So I'll briefly walk you through this. It shouldn't be too complicated. Essentially, first thing, we're importing all these values. And something really cool about this is I use ChatGPT for half of this code at least. But you import the values, and then if the style, so here's what we were saying about the vehicle sizes. So if the size is a coupe or sedan, then the total remains the same. But if it's a little bit bigger, we're gonna add $100. If it's a little bit bigger than that, we add 200, okay? So the code is just doing all this. And you can do this with just workflow actions using like math and this type of stuff. The only problem is you can't really format it in a nice way. And I'll show you what I mean. So next thing we have is actually the condition of the paint. So we're adding 200 if they need extra prep work. And what you can see here with this summary plus equals, we're concatenating a new line to this summary that we're gonna send them, okay? So we're just doing size large plus $200, \n, that's gonna create two new lines, so it's gonna be on different lines. So it'll say size large and then prep work level 2 on different lines, so it's gonna be nicely formatted. This is the biggest limitation with like HighLevel, kind of with doing it just with workflow actions, is because you can't create new lines with just workflow actions, okay? So I'm gonna basically like add on all this information. Everything from here down was basically ChatGPT. I was like, look, just do it for me. And the crazy thing about ChatGPT 4.0 Omni is you literally just paste in its code, press run, and it runs like first try. It's amazing that it doesn't mess up anymore. I guess it depends how you're using it, but what we're doing is we're basically just looking through all these upgrades. So if you remember these upgrade options back here, like they have a price in them and it's different for these. I don't want my client to have to know, like to go in here and code it out. So basically all it's doing is it's looking at whatever this says right here and then taking the price from the end of it, okay? So we have like, if they choose, wheel faces only, it'll say wheel faces only, and then 130, right? But it's gonna format it differently and add it to the sum, okay? This is not what you could never do this in normal HighLevel. This allows so much more integration than you could normally get. So if it finds a match for a number in that option that they chose, then it's gonna like add that onto the description, and then we have the same thing going over. I could have just done a function for that, but then we have something more complicated for these checkboxes. So for these checkboxes, because there could be multiple and I don't want to like list them all out and it gets more complicated, and it's an array at first, but basically all we're doing is just like ChatGPT did it for me. All right, I don't know how this works. And then all we do at the end is ChatGPT wrote this whole thing. It just formats it into a nice currency and outputs it. And so then basically as the notes, like in the client's notes, it's gonna say vehicle, like website request quoted, website quote requested. And then it'll say the service that they wanted, what vehicle they had, what style, and then everything from that summary, which I'll show you, and then the total is gonna be there as well. So then we also have an internal notification for the client, and then it'll send that quote out to the customer. And from there, we have the customer's information. We can do whatever we want with it. Well, not whatever we want. We can take care of them. And just so you can see, this is what it looks like. So you can see, oh my God, there's a lot of messages here. But you can see what the customer actually gets. So you can basically see like how all this breaks down into like pricing and then total. And these two new lines, I got rid of them. I fixed that. So anyways, this is one of the best use cases for custom code. It's just like formatting things in a way that you like it. So if you're trying to create a conversation history, you can create new lines so that it's actually readable. Same thing for like phone call, transcripts and everything like that. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to click the link below and buy my course for $9 billion. I promise it will pay off. Also use my affiliate link to sign up, because when you do, I guess I'll get money. I don't know what you'll get. That sucks, but but anyways, please leave a comment if you have any questions. I'm happy to make another video going over specific code actions, because this is super exciting. Like, I hope you can tell, but this is actually gonna change the game when it comes to like AI and integrating and reporting and making your agency run smoother, okay? Oh, here's a bonus. If you run an agency where you don't have a call center, which is pretty typical if you're not like setting in-person appointments or call appointments. So if you just have kind of like an agency where it's more, or an industry where it's more casual, like if you're doing roofing, you just have a call center because all they do is call people and book like roofing appointments. So it's not that complicated. But if you're actually doing sales over the phone, it's trickier to set up a call center. So what you can do and what you need your clients to do is actually call the leads. If they don't call the leads, if they don't kind of learn how to sell and spend time on the phone, they're never going to get good results. I'm sorry, they're just not, okay? And what you need is you need to know that your clients are on top of it, because if they start losing out one month, if they don't have time to follow up with the leads, whatever, then they're gonna quit and you're gonna lose that revenue, okay? So what you need is basically with this, we can say, okay, phone call received, completed, and we have like call status is complete. This triggers when the call connects, so not when the call is finally ended. That's a problem to address, but what you can, you can fix it. We have custom code. We can do anything, all right? But basically, what we wanna do is we wanna create like a spreadsheet where we can see, okay, here's a lead, here's how many times they called them, here's what the average call duration was, did they double dial, did they ask them about this, and did they text back, all this stuff, right? And so what you can do is create a reporting dashboard that's automated instead of having to go into your client's accounts and say, hey, you didn't call this lead, that was a good lead, maybe you should call them back. You can literally just have the code do it and then even automate like sending a report to your client like, hey, you're not trying. you're gonna lose money. All right, just try. So that is one of the biggest changes that we're gonna be able to do using custom code to actually like format things and get precise data that we need. So anyways, this is the actual end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my OnlyFans below, and yeah, that's basically my only request. There's some good content on there. All right, see you in the next one.